Welcome to the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast, where we bring you a weekly dose of powerlifting news, tips, and training advice with a touch of 80s rock ballads. This podcast is presented by Team Roar Powerlifting, your source of the most comprehensive coaching and meet day preparation. Here are your hosts, Josh Rohr and Laura Sturm.
Welcome to episode 151. How are you, Josh Rohr?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm awesome. We have a guest today.
Wade, what's up?
Well, I'm old, fat, and ugly, so I'm pretty consistent straight down the middle.
Status quo, huh?
Man, I'm just here killing it. Killing it.
Awesome. So what's up? I'll let you drive the ship.
Well, there's been obviously a lot. You were at the NGB meeting, and in typical Larry fashion, we were told that we were not going to present. There was just such an agenda that after Larry's speaking and Johnny's speaking, we didn't really feel like, there was enough time for each committee chair to stand up and present. So I turned in my stuff when I was supposed to, and I didn't prepare anything to present. And about 3 minutes before the meeting started, Larry goes, "Yeah, we're not going to have anybody present but you. I want you to talk about what you've been doing." So, Jesus. So, again, I'm just jotting down notes. There's so many things going on. And I think just for the sake of clarity, when we're working with these groups of people to become affiliates, what we have learned is it takes a good amount of time. It takes a lot of time. It's not a lot of things, so to speak. There's not this long list or myriad of things or hoops to jump through. But a lot of times we're working in countries that are very steeped and entrenched with the IPF. And, there's lots of little things that they have to dance around because there's people that, that coach for a living, that have gyms for a living. And gyms there are a lot different than they are here in the States, where gyms and clubs will basically, they have their own meets. They're so large, or they have so much participation, that they have their own meets, so to speak. They fill up their own meets, if that makes any sense. And so, like with the England thing, if people tuned into the USA Powerlifting with a podcast with Ryan Carrillo, and Mark Giles and Ollie Roberts came on and talked about, what took so long. There's just so many things that, Mark had surgery, had to recover from that. And there's all these things where, Mark was very entrenched in all things British powerlifting. And we're finding that with every country. So that's kind of the long version of that. Every country has this little nuance that creates hurdles. And what those hurdles mean is it equals time. But now you're seeing the fruits of all that labor, where this past weekend, the test meet for England was ran. And what they mean by test meet, they wanted to run on the systems with lifting cast and all those things that we typically use on a weekly basis here in the United States. And that's new to them. And they were running a meet, which I thought was an interesting concept, for all the people that will be judging and volunteering and stuff like that, where they could get an official USA Powerlifting meet in prior to the inaugural meet in November, which will be the first leg of the Euro tour, if you will. So that is a lot of information just to tell you that these things take a long time. I rattled off a long list of things that we were working on in the NGB meeting. And there's other things that I didn't even mention because I just didn't want to stand up there and drone on for forever, especially given the agenda that we had. So those are the things we've been working on, this Euro Tour thing with England, and they will do this meet in November. I don't have dates in front of me, but they will make a stop in Ireland, which, kind of lets that cat out of the bag that Ireland has signed on, and we've got pretty heavy hitters with those guys that I'm really excited about, those guys coming aboard. And the Garbin with City Gym in Limerick is the one that I had been talking to the most. But Jay Ferrant, who has its ABS gym in Dublin, has signed on, and he was extremely entrenched in the IPF. So, I mean, this has been months and months. With England, it was 18 months getting, over 18 months now getting to this point. From Ireland, they will go to the Netherlands, and then they will circle back and come back to England. Now, how will this morph and change over time remains to be seen, but it is something that Western Europe is pretty excited about, and this will be the gateway, to other things to come. So that's a lot. So for whatever that means to you.
Yeah. No, it's cool. Like I think the big thing with listening to people is they just don't understand the full scope of what the international stuff is about. And I think, and myself included, like there's just so many things coming online. Like I first heard of the Euro Tour at Raw Nationals.
Right.
I think it sounds awesome, but like, yeah, that it appears to just come out of thin air, but clearly that's not the case, right? These
That is
are well thought
not-
out things that take time and are being developed. It's just as they're released, they appear to be coming out of thin air, but this is actually releasing things after you said, a year and a half of work.
Well, I'll put it to you this way. We talked to the first country that we talked to, obviously, was Australia. The second country we talked to was a call directly to Mark Giles in England. And so when we say, give you the scope of time, this was January of 2022, so here we are in October. And in just this past weekend, the end of September of 2023, they're running their first meet. So there's lots and lots of things that, it's not just Mark, it's the people that he's working with, and he and Ollie that are putting things into place and making sure that everything is going to run smoothly. This wasn't just thrown together and we go, well, they're running meets. It took time to, there's loops that, loose strings that have to be tied, so to speak, when you're involved in other things, when people are exiting the IPF, for example. And this isn't a derogatory statement. People want to make a change, and, we're offering that change, but it takes time. They want to make sure that they're doing all the right things and handle things correctly. And, you don't want to burn bridges. You don't want to, make bad business decisions. And, people have livelihoods tied up in their gyms and in their coaching services and things like that. So it pays to take time. So when things like this are announced, this isn't like, hey, let's see if we can do a meet in Ireland. I mean, this is something that has been discussed for quite some time. And so when you get that announcement, know that there have been weeks and months in discussions and in plannings, and in maneuvering and trying to figure out what is the best route, to take to make these events happen.
Yeah. And I know Larry mentioned it too at the NGB that the format of the Pro Series is changing next year to be a lot more simple. I don't know how much we can say about that, but
well, it's going to be streamlined, and I'll give you this. I don't want to speak for Brad. He has spent a lot of time on this, and that's another thing. You and I have had these discussions, and people aren't privy to this. Is we want to make sure that there's a very good melding between both the international concept and community with the Pro Series. It's one of those things that I think for it to be successful at a large level, it has to be. Now, here's what I will say. When you started this, remember, we had just had the divorce with the IPF. What is that, October 2 years ago?
Yeah,
maybe a little less. There's no way that you could have conceptually thought, if we're doing this international thing, as I'm trying to launch this pro thing, within 2 years, we'll have all these countries, and all this involvement. You had to build it based on what you knew. So the streamlining and simplification is If I have a lifter, we'll use Australia as an example just because it's so far away geographically. If we only have X amount of qualifying meets, it's kind of tough to ask a lifter to come to the United States 3 times. So we're going to streamline things. And when I say we're, this is Brad's work, that we will streamline that. And hopefully what we can do is make, the finale, the bigger payday, so to speak. And then that way people can, what it comes down to is whoever hits the biggest dots are the ones that'll be competing. And again, because we've got such, now we have to think, we can no longer think just nationally or just USA powerlifting. We have to think globally, and that's the monster that's been created because, people are signing on and with the World Cup concept that allows people that don't have an affiliate to be able to compete, and that's quite a caveat, if you will, compared to the current model that like the IPF or the national bid or Olympic bid type thing, where it's all national team oriented. So, and I've got my opinions about that, which I'm sure doesn't surprise you, but
I'm shocked.
but
I am shocked you have an opinion about something.
So, but the point is that this allows, inclusivity is a big catch term right now. And it lends to that. It allows more people at every level to participate. So this is where I think we'll see a bigger melding of the international footprint with the Pro Series. And I think it could make things really, really interesting, really, really quick. And that's without, without everybody involved being here. That's probably as far as I should say anything.
Yeah, I think that's enough of a window into that, I guess. I think, that's one of the things that I hear too is like, which direction is USA powerlifting going, international or Pro Series? And the answer is both.
The answer is definitively both.
Yeah. And I just think that, and I get it because like when something gets released, like you have to know what the other pieces that have already been released are and how they intertwine. But like until it's all like comes full circle, like people aren't going to see the whole thing. But like it literally is being well thought out. Like I approve. Put it that way. I like it.
Well, I
not
will
that
tell
anybody
you,
cares what I think.
You've been part of these, like we've done Zoom meetings while I'm, driving down the road and stuff like that. And the amount of time that has been spent on it, Brad and I have spent quite a bit of time talking and want to do more. And, that's another thing. I don't think people don't appreciate it. I just don't think that they understand. Both you guys have young children. And when I mean young, you know, 12, 18-month-old, children. And that's a tough time. It's a busy time as a parent. We have jobs and stuff like that. And that's not an excuse, but I think people just have to understand that I literally work on this of some degree with the international thing, with the World Cup and other things. I'm working on this 7 days a week. That much you can be assured of. And so are other people.
Yeah. Yeah. Short of seeing like a timesheet or your notes from all your meetings, nobody knows that. So I think it's a lot of, I guess, not unappreciated, but maybe just unacknowledged because it's unrecognized work that you're doing in the background. So not that you care either, but I appreciate you, Wade.
Well, what's interesting is Larry said it in the, he goes, there's times where I get a message from him and it's 2:00 in the morning. And the reason why it's 2:00 in the morning is because it's in the afternoon or something in Australia, and that's when I get to meet, with some of them. I do Marco Polos with a bunch of different people or WhatsApp. Like if you'd have told me, because I'm your seniors, pretty by a good margin. if you would have told me that I would have all these platforms to communicate with people across the planet, a few years ago, I'd have told you to kiss my ass, that's never going to happen. But you've also seen my computer rig. Like right before we came on, I was like, I don't know how in the hell to do this background. You're going to have to walk me through it. But I have this laptop and 4 screens, and we have this your itinerary, and I've got some notes up of a guitar player we were going to talk about and stuff like that. There's spreadsheets and shit everywhere. So if you'd have told me 5 years ago that I'd be doing this, I would have chortled in your face.
Chortled, that's a good word.
Chortled,
I don't really know what it means.
You didn't see that one coming, did you?
Nope. Another Wade special there.
Yeah, you don't get that everywhere.
I chortled in my pants.
That could mean several things. See?
That's definitely going to be a clip that goes on Instagram.
Dude, that's going to be a promo, dude.
Yeah, that's going to be a promo, Laura. Good one.
Sorry, y'all were just so serious talking about this. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
NGB is so interesting.
Yeah.
I know. Sorry, I missed it.
Yeah, you're right. Let's keep it rolling. So Raw Nationals, real quick. I'll do a quick recap of our lifters, and then we'll kind of keep it moving. So we had Katie, Joe House, Olivia, Cindy, and Lee compete. Everybody did pretty well. We were hoping to do a little better in a couple weight classes, but overall, I thought everybody did pretty good. Pretty proud of everybody. We had 2 lifters that lifted in prime time, Olivia and Lee, so that was pretty cool. I think that was the first time we had 2 lifters in prime time in the same year. But we had a training hall there, and we brought equipment, and I was half expecting a lot of stuff to show up missing, or some of the little things. Like I brought a bunch of bands and foam rollers, and I came back and I was only missing one of the micro mini bands and 1 foam roller. Everything else came back, so I was pretty happy with that.
Pretty outstanding. I unfortunately, we were so busy that I know you and I spoke a couple of different times, but we were never able
kind of
to
in
hook
passing.
up.
Yeah, it was.
And so I never made it to the training hall. It was just, I got there Monday and I helped a little bit, different things behind the scenes setting up. That's a big time for me to meet with Larry and Priscilla and other people and get to talk face to face. And so a lot of the big conversations like that happen at those events. And man, not to mention coaching and everything else that, and then meeting with people. Like I had a really good meeting, a meeting with like Cameron,
Collegiate Cameron Barlow.
Yeah.
An avid listener, by the way.
You want to talk about somebody that has a lot of energy and conceptually a lot of ideas. And so we're going to, and those are the people I need to spend time with. And to make a long story short, there's several different people that I spent at length, having conversations with and making sure that I was communicating with them and opened the lines of communication for more things that we need to discuss, as we grow and go down the road. I haven't gotten any new numbers, but I know that our membership went over 28,000. And, that's a great thing. And it's also a scary thing. So that's one of the reasons why not only me, but several people are working so hard. You think about it, we're probably going to eclipse 30,000 members, and look at the depth of talent that was at Nationals this year. I mean, I think it was pretty staggering.
Yeah.
And, how big we could have easily, if you had the staff, we could have ran that Monday through Sunday and had full days each day, four platforms. And
that would be miserable, but fun kind of at the same time.
Sure. So, that was one of the interesting things before I go on this complete tangent and take us away from Nationals, because I know you're trying to do a recap. But that's where a lot of those things, take place, where we have all these different meetings and everything. So ultimately, I didn't get to see, what you had set up, and then we were actually going to record while we were there, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah, I brought Elmore's portable recorder thing and didn't use it, but I had it. Oh well. Yeah, I mean, I want to get your opinion on the USA powerlifting plates. What did you think of those?
You're asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking you.
Well, first and foremost, I'm a huge Wes Zunker fan. I think, and that guy is all over the planet, all over the United States, running meets, doing what he does. And I hope he sells a gazillion of those things and is a millionaire. I always struggle with those kilo plates because they're a little slick and the profile is really thin. And that would be my only issue with it. Otherwise, I thought they looked pretty good. I was concerned about the inside of the plate being printed versus engraved. So that may be something that comes into play late. I don't know what the production time on any of this was. Now, I love the racks. I loved the bars, loved them. But the plates, I think that's probably going to be the challenge going forward. I think they looked great. I think they worked well, and I think they were received very well.
Yeah.
But for me, go ahead.
Well, so my first impression, so I had a lifter, Katie lifted Thursday morning, session 1, and fresh out of the rack, they still had that little like oil coat on them a little bit, so they're a little bit slick. So that made it a little bit of a challenge. But what I found as a colorblind person, it was a little bit hard for me to tell what was on the plate from the chief ref position. I don't know that that's a problem for most people, but when I'm double checking, I had a little bit of an issue with that. But again, that's probably just a little bit of my deficiency. But here's the problem I had with the plates. It's unrelated to the plates themselves. They came stacked, right? All the reds were on the bottom, and then it was like, actually, no, all the weights were on the bottom. So I was in session 1, so I put them all in the right position on the plate trees, kind of unstacked them all. And we're warming up for squat, and we're 3 warm-ups in, and our 20 kilo plate on one plate tree was missing, and our 10 kilo plate on the other plate tree went missing. Somebody in the warm-up room took a 20 kilo plate and a 10 kilo plate from our platform, and I got like 5 or 6 people to walk the whole venue looking for an extra one on the platform, couldn't find it. So I still to this day don't know. And I never left the platform. I unpacked them and was standing right there, and I got done with the set, look over, and they're missing. I'm like, what the hell just happened? Somebody's messing with me or something, but they never came back.
That's bizarre.
Yeah. So somebody got me. Good job, guys.
Interesting. I mean, we never had that problem on the platforms that I was on, but people are notorious where they'll be warming up and they follow the path of least resistance. They can't find something immediately. They'll run over and see if there's another platform, and they snatch it.
Yeah. So I get that, but we literally walked through every platform with like 6 people looking at every platform, counting and inventorying, and couldn't find it. So I don't know if somebody put their gym bag on it or what happened, but yeah, that was
that is the thing.
Aliens, but
it is indeed aliens.
Yeah.
I don't know. That wasn't something that we were. I will tell you, they had the warm up area was enormous.
It was great.
There was.
I thought the whole setup was really good. I thought the layout was great. The amount of space was great. The number of platforms was great. The fact that you had the exact equipment that was on the platform in the warm up room. That's also a pet peeve of mine. Is people expect that, but that is really not the norm. And I think after Raw Nationals, everybody at Raw Nationals is going to expect that. And that's really not the norm. Like that's the best of the best. Like
That's not going to
Yeah,
happen. Yeah.
you should feel fortunate that that happened, but like that's very rare that you have matching equipment on every warm up platform at a meet that caliber. That's crazy.
Well, and I mean, you think about the expense that the organization went to, and there's what is it? There is there were 16 warm up platforms. Does that sound right? Is that too many?
12, I believe. Wait,
12.
12, I believe. I believe there were
Okay,
12.
so in that trailer there's four competition platforms and the primetime platform, and then 12 other platforms that all match. So 17 of those platforms all match. They're all the
Yeah.
same. Granted, you had something different for the primetime platform with the paint job and everything like that to make
Well,
it
the paint
special.
job, but the rackets, I mean,
But
paint job
yeah,
doesn't affect the actual,
sure.
yeah.
You know that, and I know that, but it's one of those things where and I the thing is that is what spoils people because they think it's going to be all those TVs and seeing the live stream and how all those things continue to change and so forth. You're just not going to see that. I mean, what we were doing at the local level, I thought was head and shoulders above what we were doing 5 to 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to expect something of that nature, and then to have a training hall, that takes me back to my, Olympic lifting days where you would have a training hall as well. So, I think it was a great meet. I think it was a great show. I thought the venue worked out. There was people that complained about it being in Memphis, but I didn't have any troubles.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, I used to take all that personally, but no matter where it is, people are going to complain. People complained about Vegas. People complained about, I had a couple complaints about Atlanta because they were in an overflow hotel, then they had to walk 2 blocks to get to the venue. And when they got to the venue, they couldn't find it because they made a wrong turn somewhere and didn't follow the signs. Like, I mean, what
It's
are you
your
going to do?
fault, Josh.
I didn't hold their hand and walk them over there. My fault.
Well, I always say
Yeah.
there are people out there that would bitch if they worked in a pie factory.
Yeah.
So, whatever.
Yeah. So a point being is like, you got to listen to everybody, but you also got to look at everything through the lens of some people, no matter where it was, no matter how it was done, are going to complain. And you just have to kind of take that with a grain of salt. So, and sometimes, unfortunately, those are the ones that complain and speak the loudest. So,
Sure, sure.
but whatever.
Well, I think again, kudos to everybody behind the scenes. You got Jan Dario and the staff of guys doing all that stuff. A new system to do the live stream with the judges' lights on it, and stuff like that. I mean, that was there. It wasn't without issues. There were bugs, but they worked really hard. They worked tirelessly, and I thought overall it went off really well.
Yeah. And the live stream itself. So the live stream is always, I always like to watch it when I, after the meet and kind of go back and watch it. But I watched this year's and it was far and away the best I've ever seen. I mean, what I really liked was kind of like, for example, between squat and bench during that 10-minute break, they had a video explaining what the referees are looking for, like all of those things, what the color cards mean. And like, it wasn't a boring rules briefing. It was like they had people actually lifting. They had little music playing in the background. Like it was like no rambling. It was just like straight to the point. And like it caught my attention when it came on. And like I actually stopped and watched it because it just sucked me in. I'm like, this is interesting. And I know all these rules, but it was super
Sure.
interesting to watch. So I thought that was really cool for, the people watching, their family members that maybe don't know the ins and outs. I thought that was pretty neat.
And Bryce was
Okay, cool.
responsible for all that.
Yeah, Bryce Lewis did all that. He did a really good job. So cool.
Nice.
You said something about a guitar. Remind me, Wade, what are we talking about here?
You had put it in the itinerary about you were going to talk about Richie Blackmore. and which I thought was interesting.
I
From
said that.
well, I saw it in one of the itinerary things. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong. Maybe I looked at a different one because I asked you about it last week, and I said, "So, what do you know about Richie Blackmore? What do you know about Richie Blackmore?" And you said absolutely nothing. And I
Yeah, I
thought,
don't know
well,
anything. Well, first of all, so there's multiple confusions here. I thought you were asking me about a guitar called a Blackmore.
oh
I'm
no,
like,
no,
I
no,
never heard of a
Richie's the good.
guitar called a Blackmore. I've heard
No,
of Richie Blackmore,
yeah, he
but
plays a Strat. Yeah,
yeah. So I thought that was the first issue, and then yeah.
now I get
Anyway,
it.
yeah, we're a mess, Wade. You know that. You knew what you're getting into. Um,
I listened to the so when the last time we were all together, we were at Lara's for the training camp, and a video came up in my memories. Like you'll get it from I have a Samsung phone, and it just arbitrarily will play these clips. And one of the clips was the night that we were doing karaoke, and you were doing "We Don't Need Another Hero," and I was like, God, I'm playing this again. It was awesome.
so
That's such a good
I
time, man.
I was not aware that there was a video of that. You can keep that to
Yeah,
yourself,
because I,
Wade.
I recorded it. Yeah. You know
Good
what
to
was
know.
great fun about that?
Mm,
Is we were eating one night, we were eating dinner, and I was playing all these one hit wonders from the 80s, and
that's right.
everybody trying to guess what the band was and stuff like that. That's you want to go down, the wormhole of nerdom with 80s, music and stuff like that. Boy, I'm your guy there,
I would like to play that game maybe next year.
man. Well, I grew up on all that, and I what people may not know about me is, I played music, I traveled as a musician in that era, the 80s and 90s. So there's a bunch of those people that I know or that I've worked with or have worked on their guitars or some nonsense like that. So yeah,
Yeah.
I get to, you start talking about music equipment and stuff like that, especially from my era. I can pretty much go overboard on the nerd part really quick.
Mm,
All right. Well, let's go down that path.
that, right.
Yeah.
So what we've been doing recently is like coming up with a random power ballads type of artist from the 80s and finding random things about the band. And this is completely unscripted and unrehearsed, like everything else we do. And we don't even have a band selected, do we?
No, Wade, you can pick a
Josh, what are you
band.
thinking?
Oh wow, I'm on the spot.
Any
Power
band.
ballady 80s.
So you want a ballad?
It has that, it has to be power ballads. Come on.
Power ballad. Here, let me look this up real quick. See if I can find this really
Well,
quickly.
we're gonna put. You don't have to know the facts. We're gonna pull it up on Chat GPT. You just have to give me the name of the band, and I'll
Yeah.
tell you all the facts you want.
Chilliwack.
They may not be accurate.
Okay, you might have to
Chilliwack.
spell that.
Oh yeah. Let's
And
see.
I'm thinking this is one of the one-hit wonder bands that we talked about.
It is indeed.
Yes.
So
Can't remember which one
Chilliwack
it
is
was.
actually like a city in British Columbia. So I don't know if that's what the band was named after, but
So chili wag. I found it. All right, here we go.
so they were active from 1970 to 1988.
It's a pretty good span.
And then I guess the lead singer reformed the band in 1997. Interesting. Do you remember the hit? There was kind of two hits.
I know I'll know them when you say it. Before that, I don't know.
One of their
I'm just
most
going.
well-known songs is "My Girl." Gone,
Yep.
gone, gone.
Yep.
I'm reading this off of off of Chat GPT because I have never heard of them.
I know the song.
And the other one was "I Believe." Now that would be a little softer than a power ballad. Gone, Gone, Gone. That one would be a little, My Girl would be just a little bit more than a power ballad. But a lot of people don't recall this band. And it was interesting because they weren't just a typical, like a 3-chord pop band. They had very much pop tendencies, but they were very jazz influenced. Let's see, what else would you say? Um, but they were very much influenced by other genres of music and not just a typical 1-4-5 3-chord pop type format. They were actually pretty advanced musically.
Can we like somehow bring in that song right now so other people can hear it?
Yep, I'm about to do it. As soon as I can find. My girl, she was the world to me. She's gone the way across the sea. Okay, so I've never heard this song.
You've heard it, you just don't
Really?
remember it.
It could be the case.
You're gonna have to hear the whole song. The Gone,
Okay.
Gone, Gone. She's
Yeah.
gone so long.
Yeah. You have to hear the intro.
Well, I listened to the intro before I played it, so I did hear the intro.
Well, let me give you one more. This isn't really a power ballad, but let me give you again. This is from Canada. Kim Mitchell was. I don't remember. I played the town. This was like in 1990. I played the town that he is from, and there's like a 6, 7, 8-story building at the time that had Kim Mitchell's. The whole side, the width of the building, the whole building was a mural of Kim Mitchell. And his song of fame was Go for Soda. He's huge. He was huge in Canada.
That was on our one hit wonders
was it
countdown list. I don't remember how it goes, but it was definitely on there.
Yeah, that's another one. Big, and he was a huge guitar player, great guitar player.
That might have been on your list because you submitted
probably
list.
my list. Yeah.
I'm sure that was on your list.
As far as ballads, I'm not going to be. Oh, I've got a good one for you. I actually played in a band. This guy was a producer for an artist that I was the bass player in. Hold on. Nobody Said It Was Easy. LaRue. It's Louisiana. They were called Louisiana LaRue, and they had a hit years before with a song called New Orleans Lady, which would be somewhat of a power ballad. And then 80-ish, 80, 81, they had a hit with Nobody Said It Was Easy. See, you have no idea what I'm talking about.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm trying to keep up and act like I know, but I don't know shit.
I told you. So interestingly enough, like I had the single on vinyl. It was a huge hit, and it would be played at all the school dances and stuff. And then, basically 25 years later, I met him in a studio here in Nashville, and I was playing. I can't remember. There was this young guy. I can't remember his name. It was when there was Star Search, if you remember, with Ed McMahon, and they had what they called Junior Star Search. And he was like the 16, 17-year-old kid that played guitar. And Atlantic signed him, and they put a band together, and I was in the band, and that's how I met the guy. He was the lead singer in LaRue, and he was the producer of this particular band.
Fun facts.
When you go nerd, man.
Yeah, you go full nerd.
I worked with a bunch of those guys, so. That's cool. Yeah, Nobody Said It Was Easy. That's a pretty good power ballad.
Yeah.
So
I agree. So I guess I kind of forgot to mention this, but we probably should mention the fact that the new USA Powerlifting rulebook has been released.
Yes.
There's not really that many changes. Everybody's freaking out. Like, how are you going to just throw this out there with all these changes? There's really not that. It's really not that like that. It's really just referenced and has reference numbers for each individual rule so that it can reference other parts of the rule book. It's actually really, I think it's a great revision. clarifies a lot of
about,
things that were.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Clarification. It's really not about changes, more that making sure that the verbiage is a little bit more understandable. I know there's some people freaking out about the bench grip rule and that sort of thing, but
I mean,
People are
yeah, it's inevitable. Like that's just, it is what it is. The other thing that was just released is the new collegiate nationals qualifying totals. And being that collegiate nationals is in Atlanta next year, I think we should touch on that. Basically, the collegiate committee has two sets of qualifying totals now. There's a qualifying total for independent athletes, meaning you're not going to be listed on a registered club's scoring roster, and those are much higher. But if you are going to be listed on a scoring roster of an official registered club, then your qualifying totals are basically what they were last year. So essentially, it's making it more friendly for collegiate teams to bring their team. And if you're not on a team or lifting independently, then it is a much higher. Basically, you have to be somebody that's likely going to be in contention for podium to make collegiate nationals without a team is kind of the idea from what I understand. So
that's how he explained it to me. Yes.
Yeah. So those are published on the qualifying totals page now. And there was a social media release on USA Powerlifting a couple of days ago, I believe, that has kind of more background and info there too. So be aware of those. I know that affects a lot of people because collegiates is huge, but I do think it's a pretty good change. I like it.
So if you're like a collegiate lifter and you're like, hey, I'm not with one of these bigger schools on this other team, can you hit up another team and be like,
No, you
hey,
can only lift for your university, but you can start a team. Like you could start a club at your
right.
school.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not about how
Yeah,
big the school is. It's because you can only put, I believe you can only put 12 people on a scoring roster, men and 12 women. So it's not about how big the school is. It's about,
being
having,
part of that club.
yeah, having an actual registered club and official team. Yeah, collegiates is still my favorite meet. I think it's my favorite meet of all time.
That meet could go for 2 weeks. I mean, you could easily run. I know that sounds preposterous, but with the amount of lifters and the amount of teams, it's staggering at how many teams there are out there.
Yeah. That's all I have. Anybody else have anything else they want to?
I have one question for you, Josh. One question. This is important.
Okay.
What I'm asking is, are you going to be there for your diesel brother?
So, yeah, I'm likely not going to be there. I'm sorry I have let down my diesel brother. So I was wanting to be there though.
We'll FaceTime.
Yeah. I don't have FaceTime. I'm a Android person. So
That's
we
right.
can we can Zoom or something.
So lame.
Google Hangouts. Facebook Messenger video call. We
Yeah,
can do that.
Facebook Messenger. That's easy.
There you go.
Yeah. You're like cringing.
I am.
Yeah,
You're an
I'm
iPhone
not,
snob.
yeah, I'm an Android guy too. So I bought a Mac notebook or whatever you call that damn thing, and I couldn't make. I gave it to Melissa. She loves it. She's got an iPhone and all that other shit. And I bought another Dell, and it works great.
Yeah.
I know how to make it work, and it's fine.
Yeah, I'm a PC person still, but the iPhone, y'all are wrong. Sorry.
If I can't make it work, it doesn't matter how cool it is.
I am out of town for the next 2 weeks.
All right. Well,
I'm going to be in
we're
the
on.
UK.
We're on. Oh, what are you doing there?
I have a work trip
Where are you staying?
in Manchester, and then I get to go to Glossop, which is where my family is from originally, and I get to stay in the hotel that my great grandfather founded.
Wow, that is cool.
Pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
That is very cool.
Who gets to do that very often? And it has a pub, so I get to sit in his pub and not drink a beer
and drink water.
My internet sucks, and I'm getting fiber soon. I'm really excited.
I'm really excited.
Yeah, you were talking about that. You were talking about that when I was there.
Yeah, we're like a month away.
It's exciting. That is really exciting.
Well, so technically we're only like 2 podcasts away because you're gone for 2 weeks. So
Right.
like 2 episodes away from Laura having Yeah, non-freezing.
Yeah.
Anyway, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's all we got. Thank you
Okay.
everybody for listening. Wade, appreciate you being on. You're welcome anytime.
Right on.
Right on. And I guess we'll catch you guys later. Peace.
Bye now.
Bye now.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode of the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast, please remember to subscribe and share it with your friends.